What's going on, everyone? This is TFD back again with a major update, and this one absolutely delivers. Team USA is officially living up to the hype and then some. They just dropped exclusive footage featuring Caitlin Clark back on the basketball floor, and not just casually shooting around. We're talking about real competitive action alongside other elite WNBA players. This is the first time we've seen Caitlin Clark with a basketball in live action settings since early July, and that alone makes this moment significant. The impact of this footage cannot be overstated. Credit to USA Basketball for finally giving fans a clear look at what's happening behind the scenes and confirming what many of us have been waiting for. It has been a long road to get here. Fans have been patient, speculation has been everywhere, and now we finally have confirmation. Caitlin Clark is back in a competitive basketball environment. The wait is over. Today marked the official start of Team USA's training camp, and the timing could not be better. We have video, we have audio, we have Caitlin Clark speaking, moving, competing, and looking locked in. This is exactly the kind of content that builds momentum and sets the stage for what's coming next. If you've been waiting for a real update, this is it. Let's start right here. This is Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston arriving together at the U.S. women's basketball camp. Right there on the screen, you can see them walking into camp side by side. Yeah, pause it right there and take a look. That's Caitlin Clark. That's Aaliyah Boston. The Indiana Fever duo pulling up together, looking locked in and ready to work. It's giving serious chemistry already, that Stockton and Malone type connection that Fever fans have been dreaming about. Seeing them together in this environment just hits different. Moments like this remind you how special this pairing can be and what it could mean moving forward. The anticipation is real, and honestly, the season cannot get here fast enough. Let's roll the clip and break this down. Yeah, man, I've missed watching Caitlin Clark play basketball. And seriously, just sign the CBA already so we can get this show back on the road. All right, here we go. Transition opportunity. She's pushing the pace, going downhill, pulls up, bang. Wow, that's exactly what you want to see. I love it. I really do. Now, watch this next sequence. Caitlin steps up defensively, guarding what looks like bigger bodies on the floor, forces pressure, and then comes the turnover. That's high-level awareness right there. Excellent stuff. Really solid basketball. All right, new clip here. Let's check this one out. Caitlin with the ball in her hands, surveying the floor, staying patient. She swings it, relocates, drives into the paint, circles back out, still in control. You can see the command she has over the offense. Is she going to pull it? No, makes the smart pass instead. Beautiful ball movement. Absolutely loved that decision making. And by the way, did you catch that moment? Looked like Caitlin and Kelsey Plum sharing a quick exchange there. Just a little mutual respect, a little love between two elite hoopers. Energy was high, pace was nonstop, and that's exactly how this game should be played. Caitlin Clark weighs in on the CBA negotiations and addresses the importance of avoiding a potential lockout. Let's get into it.
Very high level, and I think the most important thing for myself, thinking about these CBA negotiations, like, this is the biggest moment the WNBA has ever seen, and it's not something that can be messed up. And we're going to fight for everything that we deserve, but at the same time, like, we need to play basketball. That's what our fans crave, and that's what all of you crave as well. Is you want the product on the floor. And at the end of the day, that's how you make the money, that's how you're marketable, that's what the fans get excited about, that's what the fans want to show up for. So, it's business and it's a negotiation, and there has to be compromise on both sides. And, we're starting to get down to the wire of it, and it's become really important. And, obviously I want to help in any way I can, and I tried to educate myself the best I can. Obviously I can't speak to every single member, it's pretty complicated, but I think there are different things that we can find ways to say, no, like, we certainly deserve that, and we're not going to compromise on that, and then other things that we can probably compromise on. But like I said, like, this is the biggest moment in the history of the WNBA, and I don't want that to be forgotten. It's important that we find a way to play this next season, and I think our fans and even everybody that has played in this league that has come before us deserve that as well.
I'm curious just on the
really is just talking to people to see about like the status of negotiations and different players.
That was a genuinely smart and thoughtful response. You could tell immediately that she understands the bigger picture. Yes, the CBA negotiations matter, and yes, the details are important, but she clearly recognizes something just as critical. At the end of the day, the league exists to play basketball, and that's what the fans want to see. That awareness matters. What stood out to me most was her willingness to use the word compromise. That is not something we've heard from many players at all. In fact, she may be the only one so far who has openly acknowledged that both sides are going to have to give a little to get this done. The players will need to compromise on certain points, and ownership will have to do the same. That's not weakness, that's realism. And realism is exactly what this situation requires if the league wants to avoid a lockout. What makes this moment even more interesting is that this was a raw reaction. When I go into these videos, I watch them with you for the first time because I want my response to be authentic. I didn't expect her to speak at that length or with that level of clarity about the CBA, and that's why it landed the way it did. Of all the voices involved in these negotiations, hers is arguably the most important. The fact that she understands how much fans want to see her on the court says everything. We're literally here getting excited over short clips of her shooting, running the floor, and playing defense in a practice setting. That's the Caitlin Clark effect. The anticipation around her return outweighs almost anything else. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, I appreciate the support, so make sure you're subscribed. This is only day one of USA basketball camp, and there will definitely be more footage and updates coming. And let's be clear, she belongs on that Team USA Olympic roster. No politics, no agendas, just basketball. And Caitlin Clark, going viral for first press conference since returning to basketball, gets honest about Project B-League. More Team USA footage with Clark crushing threes.
And all day yesterday, we'll go for about 10 minutes or so. Do our best to get it to as many as possible. And let's go ahead and start with Sydney, please.
Hi, Caitlin. You previously said that there was no disappointment when you weren't selected for the 2024 Paris Olympics because it gave you something to work toward. Reflecting back on the past year and a half and, making your first senior camp, what does this moment mean for you and why is this the right time for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you can do a USA basketball related camp, or obviously in my past, it's been all junior national teams. And, I've been cut from some of those and I've played for 3 of them. So I think I've experienced both sides of it. And, this is the biggest honor you can possibly have and playing basketball in our country is wearing USA across your chest. So, I'm just excited to be here and honored. Obviously, it's kind of like the start to the new Olympic cycle and, quite a few different things before we get to that point, but just excited to be here and be surrounded by a lot of really great players, some that, haven't played in Olympics before and then others that have a medal or multiple medals. So I think it's been a fun group to be around.
Thank you.
We'll go Doug and then Tia.
Hey, Caitlin, I know you told us today that after practice you were a little bit nervous going in just because you hadn't played in a while. Was there a moment you sort of got over that, said, all right, I'm good, I'm back to where I was before I got hurt? And I think you hit that one step back 3 that sort of bring sort of some comfort in some ways, in the sort of part we saw.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like when I touched the basketball to start warming up before the practice even started, that's probably when I felt pretty comfortable. But I mean, I've worked so hard. Like I haven't taken a break since, honestly, since the beginning of the WNBA season with just all my rehab and getting back to where I wanted to be and then getting even better. So that's been kind of my focus. And, this has kind of been my next thing that I've been working for since our season ended, and just really thankful for, the training staff and player development and everybody that has kind of been there with me. They haven't taken a break either because they invest a lot of time and they want me to be successful. So I think for myself, like it's not proving it to yourself again, but it's just that feeling. And I think it just made me smile quite a bit. Like I really did kind of feel like myself out there and just continuing to get my lungs back. But I felt like I was moving really well. So it was pretty satisfying.
Thanks.
All right.
Hi, Caitlin. Obviously, this camp has a lot of younger players. What can you say just about all of you being able to come together and kind of signify this start of this new Olympic cycle with all of you being together and being so familiar with each other?
Yeah, and I think a lot of us have familiarity, whether we were playing on junior national teams together or whether we played versus each other in college or, obviously playing now versus each other in WNBA, or some of us obviously are teammates as well. So, we know each other pretty well. I think it obviously speaks to the way USA basketball does such a great job at the junior national team levels of really getting you kind of involved in the program and understanding what USA basketball is about. You understand how big of an honor it is to be able to do this. And if you're lucky enough to do it, just once, that's incredibly cool to represent your country. So I think for us, like being able to have that and then come into this national team camp together, it just is a thing of comfort, but also like we're all very competitive and you want to be surrounded by the best at the same time. And I think that's kind of the feeling all around for all of us.
Thank you.
Kyle?
Hey, Caitlin, it's Kyle Huseman with Hawkeye Report. Good to talk to you. It's been a while. Wanted to ask you about, the last 6 months. I mean, you basically, I think you had a stretch of like 7 years, whether it's Iowa or Dowling, where you just didn't miss a game. You never were out for one game with an ankle tweak or anything. Just having that stretch of being off the court and not playing games. Did you learn anything about yourself? And did you learn anything about the game just being on the sideline rather than playing?
Yeah, I think for sure. And I put together a pretty incredible stretch of never missing a game. And, the fact is when you're a professional athlete, it's going to come at some point. That's just how it goes. I think it's honestly taught me more than I've probably ever learned through the course of my career of, how to take care of your body, how to get right, how to stay healthy, and then just taking time for yourself. Like obviously being hurt is an incredibly isolating thing and you don't really understand it until you go through it. And then I think the challenge for myself was just, it was one injury and then it was like a little better and then it kind of continued to compound and get worse and, other things pop up. And then I had the ankle injury. So it feels nice to finally be back to 100%. And in a way, at the end of the WNBA season, like obviously I did everything I could to try to be able to come back and, be able to play for my team. But, it just didn't really work. I think that was almost a way of relief for myself, just knowing that, I gave everything I could to possibly try to play, but my body just wasn't really letting me. And then, I continued to rehab and now feeling back at 100%, it honestly took probably longer than I expected, but knowing my body's in a really good spot. And, I think more than anything, it just teaches you how to be a really great teammate and a really good leader and understanding what your teammates go through. Like, obviously, I'm going to have teammates that have been through injuries and are going to continue to go through injuries and always leaning on them and being there for them. And, if I have a teammate hurt going forward, like I'm always going to be the one that texts them and checks on them. And then, just pouring into your teammates. You can do that whether you play or you don't play. And that was kind of my main focus. Thanks, Kyle.
All right, Ben.
Thanks, Renee. Obviously there's been a lot of change on the national team landscape with this being a younger roster, but over the last couple of months, there's also been broader changes in the professional women's basketball landscape as well. Have you been approached by the Project B League at all? And do you have plans to take part in it? And if not, what do you think of it more broadly?
Yeah, I plan to play in the WNBA. Obviously, that's another thing that we need to get done. So we have a season coming up here. But I think more than anything, it showcases what people think of women's basketball. All of these different opportunities, all these different leagues, the platform that they want to give women's basketball, where they think women's basketball is going to continue to grow. I think that's probably the thing that pops into my mind is just that of like people are really believing and putting their money where their mouth is. And that hasn't always been the case for women's basketball, no matter how great it's been over the course of, the last 25, 30 years. And so I think for myself, like that's probably what I'm most proud of is just how, excited and people are to really invest and want to support women's basketball more than anything.
Thank you.
Yep.
Shelby.
Hey, sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Caitlin, thanks so much for taking the time. Sorry, it's a little noisy behind me, but I'm curious just if you could share just again, only first day, but what your experience has been like so far working with Coach Cara. What stands out about her as opposed to maybe other coaches that you've had in the past?
Yeah, I think Coach Cara is, obviously she knows just as good as anybody else what USA basketball is all about, winning a gold medal. And then additionally, like she's been a part of a lot of different Olympic teams, whether it's 3-on-3 stuff, whether it's obviously an assistant coach at the last gold medal. But I think it's just the energy she brings. And I think that impacts every single person in the gym. And I think that's a really powerful thing as a coach. So I think that was, this is really my first time around Coach Cara as well. Like I don't have a prior relationship with her. So obviously it's been good to get to know her over the course of this first few days. But I think for myself, it's just the energy and the competitive spirit that she brings as a coach. I think that's really impacts players and what they want to bring on the court as well.
Andrew?
Thank you, Renee. Caitlin, good to see you as always. First, when I asked you about your long-time bond with your fellow number 22, Cam Brink, you two were having good laughs with each other in camp. Let's talk about rejoining and teaming up with Cam again. And do you feel with your golfing prowess that you showed that you are the best golfer on the WNBA?
Well, first of all, obviously it's great to see Cam. Last time I played USA basketball, I'm pretty sure she was on the team, or maybe that was 2 times ago, but she was actually my roommate one of the times that I played USA basketball. So I've known her for quite some time now. And then obviously throughout college, continued to build our relationship, and then even now professionally. So it's always good to see people that you've known for, 5+ years and even longer now. I mean, it was the U16 team was the first team I ever played on, and I think I was 15. So it's been almost 9 years now, which is pretty incredible, the course of this journey. And then golfing wise, I'm not really quite sure like who's all big into golfing in the WNBA. So I don't know, maybe I'd love to get out there and play with some different players, but I put the golf clubs away now. Like I'm truly focused on basketball. It makes my body a little bit sore. So I'd rather just stick to basketball, but I love it. And it's always great to be outside. And obviously the weather is not too hot in Indianapolis or Iowa at the moment for me to be golfing at all. So